All right, great news for the middleweight division. We just got announced 3 hours ago at the time of me making this video from the UFC's official Twitter that on July 26th, we got Whittaker versus De Ridder in a main event, and it's in Abu Dhabi. Huh. I don't know why they would have booked that in Abu Dhabi, but hey, it is what it is. You know, you'd think there'd be a different matchups for Abu Dhabi, and I mean, hey, it is what it is. You know, I guess good on them. But yeah, amazing fight, and yeah, what this does is this confirms basically the top of the middleweight division for me right now. I think what's going to happen is, as Adesanya was calling out for Strickland and Whittaker wanted Strickland as well. And yeah, I think Adesanya is going to get Strickland. If we look at the top of the middleweight rankings here, okay. So yeah, we got, so Strickland's probably going to fight Adesanya. We got Whittaker versus De Ridder, like I said. And then, yeah, I guess they got to figure out what happens with Nasruddin. Maybe he'll be the backup. And then I hope he goes against Bahio, but it is what it is. And yeah, no, this fight is amazing. I understand why Whittaker took it, because I think for Whittaker, he really needs to rebound and build himself back up. And I think, you know, people are saying like, oh, what a steep jump in the rankings. Well, downward in the rankings, because Whittaker's number 5, De Ridder's number 13. But that's the thing. De Ridder's on a roll right now. He's got a lot of hype right now. I think, especially since Whittaker, he sees this probably as a winnable matchup for him, because De Ridder's not the cleanest on the feet by any means. And for De Ridder, I think this is part and due to the fact that he took the Bo Nickal fight, because I think De Ridder didn't really want the Bo Nickal fight. Not that he was scared or anything, but it was just like, he beat Kevin Holland. He's like, you know what, I kind of want a bit more higher in the rankings. Like, I think he was calling for, I don't remember who he was calling out, but he was calling out for at least a ranked opponent. I don't think Bo Nickal was ranked. And yeah, I think the UFC probably wanted Bo Nickal to win, just because they were, you know, his golden child for a while. And everyone and their dog was hyping him up. And I think part of the incentive for De Ridder to take the Bo Nickal fight was just being like, hey, you know, you beat Bo Nickal, you do this favor for us and step in against our star. Guess what? We'll repay you 100%. And it looks like the Whittaker matchup is the payment for doing that for them. And if I'm De Ridder, I'm super hyped about this. Obviously, like, this is a quick turnaround for him. He's incredibly active. UFC loves that. I'm sure De Ridder is really easy to work with. You know, he doesn't talk the trash. He doesn't, you know, he's not this crazy polarizing figure. He's a nice, respectable guy. And, you know, like I said, I love the trash talk of the promotions and all that, but every once in a while, a nice guy, you know, it is what it is. Like, it's cool, I guess. It's not going to do blockbuster and pay-per-views unless he's like some next level. Like, if he destroys Whittaker, then we might be talking. But yeah, no, he seems like a cool guy. And yeah, I think early predictions for this fight, I'm looking and I'm seeing like Whittaker. That's the thing. He just got choked out by Chimaev, and then before that he beat Ikram Aliskerov, but that was on short notice. And then before that, he got TKO'd by Dricus. So, you know, we've seen Whittaker lose in various ways. And I think De Ridder looks at the blueprint that Chimaev set out. And I don't think De Ridder's as dominant as Chimaev, but I think in the later rounds, I think De Ridder probably gets a submission. Especially the jaw problems and the teeth problems. I think De Ridder just gets on his back and does the neck crank as well. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think, you know, Whittaker definitely sees himself as cleaner on the feet. I think if Whittaker can keep his distance and do his lunge and hop, hop, and then the head kick, the 1-2, and then his jab, and then he likes to throw those calf kicks, but I think he's probably going to learn from the Chimaev fight. Like, he doesn't want his stance that wide, because then De Ridder could easily go for those, you know, takedowns and all that. But yeah, I think Whittaker, I don't think Whittaker will get the TKO. He could. I just see if Whittaker's going to win, I think Whittaker's probably going to go by decision. I think it's going to be more damage based. I think if Whittaker can crack him on the legs, like those insane like calf kicks, I think he loves those stomping oblique kicks like to the knees and all that. He definitely could get DeRitter because DeRitter's a little awkward. You know, he could get DeRitter's attention like that. I think for DeRitter, like I said, grapple him up. I think you can get him tired. At this point, I don't really trust Whittaker. I'm sorry, like, I think he had his time, especially he was already champion. He said he was a lot more motivated now because he's seen just Volkanovski reclaim the belt. And Whittaker's not as old as Volkanovski by any means, but I just think the size difference, I just think the momentum, it's going to play a huge part. And like I said, there's blueprints on how to beat Whittaker at this point. There's so much tape on Whittaker, you know? And sure, there might be on DeRitter as well, but I just think DeRitter, he's looking better every fight. And yeah, no, I'm really excited for this fight for sure. Like I said, it looks like Adesanya is going to get the Strickland fight. So that's going to be a big one too. That'll probably be on a pay-per-view card. I don't know if I'm Adesanya, I probably would rather go 3 rounds of Strickland than 5 because then Adesanya can just go sprint. Because if you let Strickland get all those 5 rounds, he'll be able to get himself comfortable. So, yeah. Hopefully that Adesanya gets booked soon as well because, you know, as much as people dislike Adesanya and, you know, I have my personal opinions on Adesanya. I'm not the biggest fan. You know, I'm not of his personality and all that. But as a fighter, I really like his fighting style. As much as he's not great on the ground, you know, he showed improved takedown defense, especially against Imavov, and yeah, I like to see Adesanya fight. Not the biggest fan, but you know, I like his fights for sure. And yeah, no, it's good news for the middleweight division. I think we're probably changing the guard a bit. Even though DeRitter, I think he's a little older than Whittaker. I think Whittaker is probably like 33. Let's check. Robert Whittaker. I think he's 33, yeah. But anyways, besides the point. Final thoughts on UFC 315. Main event. Like I said before, if Bilal wins, that's the best case scenario for the UFC and I guess, not even casual fans, because the hardcores would love this too. I think everyone... Because that's the thing. To me, this is as close as you can get to Khabib versus McGregor 2 without getting like deep and personal, but like intensity-wise, rivalry. Because that's the thing. Makhachev tends to like, every time in the face-offs and all that, he's kind of like smiling, like he already assumes he's going to win. And it's like, I just don't think he's like, obviously I know he respects all his opponents, but Topuria is also coming in with an equal level of confidence. I think the trash talk, the build-up's going to be great. I really hope they go on a tour for this and promote it like they did in the old days. I think, and yeah, that's all if Bilal wins. Now, if Bilal loses, Makhachev goes up, but there's also good news. Because recently, I think in the last day, Makhachev posted this on Twitter. This Saturday's main event will define my next move, or what my next move is. But regardless of the outcome of that fight, I'm not going to vacate my lightweight title. We might get a real contender there. And that's the thing. I think Makhachev has a really good relationship with the UFC, so I don't think they would strip him. But the other problem is, Topuria says he would only fight for like a real title. And I guess Dana kind of confirmed it already that Topuria is going to be fighting Oliveira if JDM wins. And depending on how JDM looks against Bilal, but let's say he knocks him out in the first round or something like that, and we don't really know how good his takedown defense and all that is. I don't know. It'll be a tough one to call, but I'd lean Makhachev. I'm leaning Makhachev right now. But yeah, JDM with the Craig Jones, you know, special magic, as they say. You know, Craig Jones, as much as he's, you know, the most unserious person on the face of this planet, everyone he works with for a camp and everyone he trains with in the UFC, he elevates their grappling. So we could see a new improved JDM really just outclass Bilal, and I'm really, really worried because we're on the eve of this fight night. And yeah, I'm real nervous for Bilal because like I said, I always, before all this news and everything, I was rooting for JDM because as much as they're both kind of boring personalities, JDM has a better style. I like watching like striking and knockouts as opposed to just 5-round decision. I know Bilal beat Brady by TKO or whatever, but I mean, what's the stat? Like 4 hours without a knockdown? Like, come on, bro. And yeah, no. Now I'm 100,000% rooting for Bilal because I know Makhachev says he's not going to vacate his lightweight title, but I feel like if he goes up to welterweight, I don't think he's going to make the same Holloway mistake where he went up to 55 and came back down to 45. But that's the thing. I don't think Ilya, even if he wins the lightweight belt, I don't think he's going to go up to a 170. So it'll be a tough ask for Makhachev to go back down to lightweight. But it is what it is. I think if I'm Makhachev for sure, 100% I want to go up to the welterweight title and win it because I feel like that's the only way he'll officially get out of Khabib's shadow. Because that's the thing. Like the difference between Khabib and Makhachev is that Khabib never got into these wars. He was so much more dominant than Makhachev, but Khabib never went up a division. So if Makhachev can win that double champion status, as much as his fights are a lot closer than Khabib's, I think, yeah, this will definitely bring him out of the shadow. Not to say that he's like in his shadow a lot, but definitely like people regard Khabib as a lot higher than Makhachev. Not by a mile or anything like that, but you know, I'd like to see Makhachev win that 170 belt, but at the same time, I'd much rather see, and that's the thing, let's say Makhachev beats Topuria, go up and then, that's the thing, there's nothing left. Because I know Arman would be a competitive fight, but I think Makhachev's like better. If you look at, let's say you break it down like a video game, I think every stat Makhachev's a bit better, so it'll be like a hard-fought decision. As much as I said I'd like to see Arman fight for the title, I think Arman versus Ilya would be really interesting because they're both like similar size. I think Ilya's a little shorter, but that'll be a crazy fight. You know, so that's the thing. Even if Makhachev's out of the lightweight picture, you know, lightweight still has good matchups for Ilya, especially Mauricio Hufi. And I think Jean Silva, he wants a piece of Ilya Topuria as well. Because, I just feel it in my bones, you know. But yeah, like I said, I'm real nervous for Bilal. Because, like I said, I've never thought I'd be rooting for him, but JDM just looks so dialed in, and I know he's not much of the character, especially during fight week, but I don't know, the intensity I see him, like I'm really nervous for Bilal, because with that Craig Jones magic and those heavy hands, man, Bilal, it could be fucked. But, yeah, no, let me know what you guys think. Who do you think is going to win the main event? Like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and, yeah. Enjoy the fights. See you guys next time.